transfer. And once I get painting, you'll be able to see this a lot easier than you do right now. So the very first place that I always start is with the eyes and the nose. It seems, I guess, in my own little mind, is if I can get the, capture the eyes and at least the outline of the nose, get things started there, then from there, I can pretty much do anything I want. I mean, it just kind of feels to me that if I could get those eyes and that nose and everything in, everything else kind of just falls into place. It's really quite interesting. And how I do the eyes is it's a build up. I always start with the lightest color because of course this is watercolor. And then from there I work my way to a darker and darker. But kind of getting that core of what's going on with the eyes really makes all the difference in the world. And the nose gives it a little extra placement. So yeah, that's kind of the process of what I do here. And just a little heads up, if there's some background noise, those of you who don't know, I am a full-time nomad. Hence the name of my little artistic endeavor here is Nomadic Vibes. Because I just started calling my colorful dogs and animals, vibe dogs. So I decided to call my little, I don't know if it's a business yet, but if it gets in that direction, the name will be Nomadic Vibes. So I apologize for any sounds in the background. I live in a small trailer. We're in Elk River, Idaho at the moment, and I have 3 dogs. So God knows what they're going to do. All the clickety click and sometimes a bark. It's always so interesting. So anywho, back to the painting here. So once I get the eyes down, I can start doing the creative with the rest of it. And in this picture, I'm just kind of showing you what it looks like when it all kind of pulls together and then the finished product. I just wanted to see what it looks like when it gets done. So here what I've done here is made sure that I've laid down a real basic color template. It is super light and I just use it to kind of get that texture. You see up there I have that black and white because one of the things that I do is after I get the initial feel of the animal, I transfer it to a black and white because in black and white you can really see the different values and whatnot that go with the that make a color picture really easy to see what's dark, what's light, what's deep, what's in, what's out. All of that is really easy when you're just looking at a colored picture. But when you're recreating in this format, you really need to only pay attention to the values and where the shadows lie and where things go deep and whatnot. So that's what I'm up to here is just definitely using that black and white picture to really start getting the basics of the values so that I know where to go, what to make darker, and how to brighten things up. So back and forth I go with the dark colors, and you see I'm kind of like stabbing it in. That's because, got to be honest with you, this is the first time I really did a curly haired dog. And I'd done a couple practice run on other dogs. And one of the things that I found is if I definitely kind of do that kind of punching that you see there, that begins to really establish the curls, if that makes any sense. So I definitely used a brush that was a little older and one that I could be a little rough on. And the little kind of punching, curling approach helps to establish where I'm going to define the curls as I go deeper and deeper, layer upon layer in the painting. It's really something I discovered helps every step builds onto the next step. So that's what I'm doing here. And I'm sitting here looking at the video as I'm doing this little voiceover for you. And I'm laughing at myself because I need to adjust my camera so it doesn't keep doing the automatic focus. See how it's like tipping back and forth a little bit? I apologize for that. I do believe this is one of my first long form. This video is going to end up being like 20 minutes long because it really dive deep into the process. But so next time, I promise I'll work on that automatic focus. Oh my gosh, what a pain in the butt. I'm hoping I caught it at some point so it doesn't continue on here because arg. Anyway, we all got to start somewhere, right? And that's what we've done here. So, excuse me. So checking this out, you see I'm using the color as well as the value of the pigment of the color to define the depth. If you look at the black and white picture there, you can see that there's a pretty definitive line in that ear. So you can see very clear where it starts and where it stops because there's a shadow there. And obviously you can see that the light is coming in up from the top right hand corner down. So that's what I've kept in mind as I'm painting this. And you know, it's just a matter of looking at that black and white after I've chosen my colors and continually filling in the blank. Well, Gesundheit, Freya. My little Jack Russell just sneezed. That was cute. But yeah, it's been quite the interesting process to figure out the best way to do these curly ones. When I do a short-haired dog, it's not that hard. You just kind of blend things together like you would in any other watercolor process. But with the curly-haired dogs, you definitely have to put more texture into the paint to define what's going on. And the black and white, I guess, is the best way to say that really, really helps. And defining everything as I go is just kind of a blast. I got to be honest with you. Sitting here looking. Okay, what I'm doing next, I am practicing. I'm thinking I'm going to use reverse painting because the bottom of the jaw, the mouth there is ragged. And as you see, as I go along here, I make the decision that I'm not going to do that reverse painting. I'm definitely going to, well, I haven't gotten into the reverse painting yet. No, this is just defining the mouth and the jaws there. I lied. The reverse painting comes later when I'm going down into the neck. But yeah, this is so interesting. I have yet to do a full voiceover on this long of a video while sharing with you the techniques that I do. So here, before I get to that part of it, one of the things that you're noticing is I keep putting like a heavy base coat down, and then you don't see it, but what I'm doing off camera is I'm rinsing my brush and just putting a little bit of water in it, and then I'm pushing and pulling that pigment around until I like where it ends up landing and blending with the other colors. When I reach to the left is when I'm picking up pigment, and when I reach to the right is when I'm picking up water. And you'll see it's always different amounts of paint and water. And then that little flicking gives that little brush look. So you can see that brush look. Okay, now this is where I go into the reverse painting. And I'm thinking what I want to do is get that jaw, the fur from the mouth down into the body. So this reverse painting, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and let that, work out. And I went, no, I'm not liking the way that's looking. So I took some clean water and I'm just pulling that blue, the shadow of the neck, down into the body, using the purple to show the depth and the shadow of the kerchief that's around her little neck. And then I'm just kind of blending it using clean water, very little paint, just kind of pushing and pulling around. I just love this process. And it's funny, that little drag that I did there, that helps to pull the paint down when I go above. So my option that I did was it's nice and wet. There's no dry time in between here. And what I'm going to end up doing is pulling the green of the mouth area down and letting it just bleed on its own. It'll just do it naturally. Watch this. It's pretty cool. It'll make that fuzzy transition without much effort. So that's quite a bit of pigment that's down on the paper, See how it's bleeding into the blue? That's on purpose. Now I'm rinsing the brush and doing a little push-pull. Don't want it too heavy. Lighter around the nose, darker around the chin. See how it made the fur all by itself, that softened that edge? I'm using Arch 100% cotton paper. And if you haven't seen Arch, or in the American lingo, Arches, you've got to go there because it makes this kind of a process so easy. So that's why I decided to go that route. Okay, now that layer is done and dry, I'm working completely on dry and doing another glaze on top of that and defining the eyes. If you look at that black and white, you can see how it's so dark around the eyes. So that's what I'm doing. I'm starting with a good amount of pigment and just pulling some texture and depth around the eyes. Again, following suit with the original laydown that I did of the blue in that area. Now I'm just making a deeper color and more definition, rinsing the brush, coming back with clean. The brush is a little damp. It's not soaking, but I decided at that point there's a little bit too much water on it, and do that lift and that push and the pull of you can do that so wonderfully on Arches paper. It's just freaking amazing. It took me about a year to make the decision to do Arches, and I can't believe it took me that long, because what I just did there around the eyes and around the chin is next to impossible on non 100% cotton paper, and it's just amazing. So if you just let it fade, it'll just kind of fade off on its own. It's pretty cool how it does that. So looks like now I'm getting ready to move on to the other dog, which is the daughter of the bigger dog. And here what I'm doing, once again, just starting that definition on top of the colors I've already gently laid down very softly, defining around the mouth, making it dark and more vibrant. What this is called is glazing. I'm glazing color upon color upon color to define it, because see how muted and soft it looks that first go around? And then you saw at the beginning how bright that portrait really turned out being. And that's strictly just layers and layers and layers. And gosh, I couldn't even tell you how many total layers are in this picture. I'm going to say 4 to 5 at least. Yeah, I think that's about what it took to get it as bright and vibrant as I did. Excuse me while I take a drink of water. Oh, I just personally, I love this. Look how juicy that is. Kind of topping it off, and look at how that just blends together so beautifully. You could not get that with pulp paper. I'm telling you, not that smoothly, not that nicely. And then being able to push and pull the color around is just, oh, it's magic. It is just magic. I can't even begin to tell you. There I am, deepening that color just a little bit more, knowing that it's going to fade quite a bit as it dries, quite a bit more. It's just what it does. Now, remember I was talking about the values and showing the separation and the shadows between pieces. I kind of zoomed in here for you so that you can see how I use color, as well as the value of the pigment to make the folds in the ear, and so you can tell what's high and what's low. And as you see, I really, really love to go down with some pretty deep pigment and then play with it. And again, this is working very wet on dry at this point. And then as I'm working it, it's obviously just kind of turns into wet on wet. You got to be really careful understanding color values. Like, as an example, if I were to use purple, that yellow would like turn an ugly brownish gray. So you've got to know what colors work side by side, or they'll just kind of muddy up, especially if you're working wet on wet. You can do it like purple next to yellow, but you have to let the yellow or the purple dry before you move on to the next color. If they bleed together, they're going to turn into mud. So understanding color theory is extremely important when choosing what colors are going to be next to each other. So here's an example there in the head. That blue, that nice blue at the top of the head, it kind of starts turning into a nice vibrant green as it's coming down around the eyes. So I intentionally did that to offset, see the green in the neck, that offsets the what is turned into the green above the eyes with the blue and the yellow that make green. Isn't that kind of cool? And I know that orange and green sitting next to each other don't mute each other horribly. Now the pink and the orange will. So you noticed I waited a while before I got anywhere near that pink in the ears. It's not fully dry, but it's dry enough not to bleed into that aspect. So it keeps them nice and separate. It's really kind of cool. Making this video was kind of fun. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. I just kind of videotaped as I was going. And I hope this is pulling together to make some sort of sense for you, that when you walk away from this, that you find something that'll be of value to you. So just a second ago, you saw I was kind of rolling that brush between the eyes. That's called lifting. And I do it quite a bit. I'll try to point it out when I get to it again, because the lifting aspect is something else that is just the most amazing thing with Arches paper, is that it is so sturdy and so strong. It can take quite the beating of lifting and blending and wetting and re-wetting and re-wetting. Okay, here we go again. That I'm going between the two dogs. Now they're just kind of mushing and blending together. Once the closer we get to the bottom, the more splattery and whatnot it looks. So yet again here, I am defining the separation between the two dogs, but I am allowing them, it's not too terribly wet, to kind of mesh and blend together. I want this to happen on purpose. And I know that Arches is going to deliver what I want because I've been practicing with it long enough. I know it's going to deliver that blend that I was hoping for. I mean, it's just the most amazing. It's such a subtle kind of blending. See how that blue and that pink? It's going to make a purple. I've got purple in this. So those two colors together are blending in such a beautiful way to define one dog from the other, yet kind of you don't know where one starts and one ends. It's kind of just love it. I love how juicy and wonderful this is, and the whole splatter effect. And I didn't show you in this one, but I do splatter before, during, and after any piece that I do. It just depends on the dynamics of the picture and how I feel and the colors that I use, and the attitudes of the dogs can make a difference too, if the splatters are just drops or if they're big blobs or however. So I didn't show you everything in this video, but most things, not everything. So here we are. I think what I'm doing at this juncture is just getting some paint pulled together and ending up this session because it's time for me to do something else. And I think I'm actually getting down to the end of this video where I begin to show you, yeah, that's right, the dogs, and then the final, almost final picture before everything is blended. And then the final picture will be coming up here in just a second. There you go. So I hope that you enjoyed this video and enjoyed watching the process. And as I make more videos, I'll reveal more and more and more of what it is that I do to make that curly hair curly, yet still soft. It's something I discovered a little while ago, and I hope to share that with you in an upcoming video. So if you like this, please give me a like, give it a share, subscribe, do whatever, all the buttons, and let me know what you thought about this, or if you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much, and I will see you again very soon. Love you guys. Bye.